Hello! Welcome back to another LEGO building video. Today we are back on part 2 of Scourge of the Skyscraper. Just finishing up the actual skyscraper, more or less. And really we're just finishing up the other sides of the skyscraper and giving it a little bit of a better internal structure than it had before. Than it has right now, for sure. So this definitely wouldn't stand up right now. And also, just to start things off, I'm changing, I think I mentioned I was going to do this, but I'm changing the sides of the building on some of the bottom layers, just to make them more consistent with the rest of the building and make it easier to accomplish the windows and everything and make them look more accurate. And I definitely like how that turned out a lot better. So I'm happy we are doing that. And you know, this has come up a couple times recently, but it's my personal opinion that a LEGO Nintendo license is basically inevitable at this point. Because, I've worked with Lego Cuso and everything, and had that experience, and the Nintendo projects have come up on ideas a few times now, and a lot. So, like back when I was on Cuso, we were doing the Minecraft thing. A lot of the criticism was that Lego would never do it because it's a video game license, and at that point, Lego had never done. I think there was one, maybe two sets that were based on video games, but one of them was Star Wars, and I feel like it was just that one. There was maybe another one, but it was, it was a video game, but it's Star Wars, so it doesn't really count. So a lot of people thought that Lego just wasn't ready for video games yet, and that's why it would never happen. And of course, it did happen, and is now like one of Lego's best-selling franchises, which isn't really surprising considering how popular Minecraft is. But it does go to show that video games definitely aren't something that Lego needs to be scared of anymore, and they have branched out a little bit with the Overwatch sets, which have, again, I don't think there's really any numbers regarding how well they sold, but we know they sold well, and that we know they at least sold well enough for a second line, which will be coming out. They've already revealed one of the sets, I think, but it's coming out next year. But anyway, so that's been pretty successful, and I think, personally, that was them sort of kind of testing the waters a little bit more with video games, as far as doing a video game license goes. Because, Overwatch is so popular, it's definitely a pretty safe bet for anybody who knows anything about what's going on in the video gaming world. I think they were kind of testing the waters with that. And I'm going to basically probably honestly end up talking about this most of the video, because there really isn't much going on in the video, besides just structural changes, which is not much to talk about there. But anyway, so I think they were testing the waters with that, and I think now that they've seen that be a success, they'll be so much more open to video game licenses than they were in the past. And Minecraft basically only happened because, well, one, it was obviously a Cuso project, so the only reason it really happened was because a fan suggested it, or I guess technically because I suggested it, but a fan. But really, that doesn't matter. Like, people put up ideas in Cuso projects all the time. What really, I think, convinced Lego that it was something that they needed to pursue was the fact that it got support so fast. It was kind of insane. Because at that point, Cuso, they had done 2 sets, I think, that were exclusive to the Japanese market when Cuso was still a Japanese exclusive thing. because they did it partnered with a Japanese company, so they started out there for their alpha or whatever. But that was back when it was like that. They only needed 1,000 votes in order to be considered for production. So when they brought it to the international market, they upped it to 10,000. So when I put the Minecraft project up, the whole thing was still very much in its infancy. The Minecraft project was the first project to pass 2,000 supports. So yeah, it was like the first Kuso project, really. So when it did, so basically, it all happened because the creators of Minecraft noticed the project and tweeted about it and everything. So that kind of really kicked everything off, and the support just flooded in. It was crashing the website. It probably would have gone so much faster had the website been prepared to handle it, but they just weren't expecting that much traffic at that point. So yeah, it was a good experience for everybody involved, but I really think the main reason that, once there was a bit of complication with the project, so LEGO ended up asking Mojang, I'm pretty sure, it's been a while since I've talked about any of this, but I'm pretty sure that's how that's pronounced. But LEGO asked them to put up their own project separate from mine, and they took mine down, just to make things more simple, because we did end up donating everything to charity, and there were a lot of people involved, and yeah, anyway. So once Mojang put their own up, it gained 10,000 supports within 48 hours. So yeah, it was insane. It was just insane. Nobody was expecting that at LEGO at that point. So I really think the biggest contributing factor to actually having Minecraft be approved was, one, it was the first ever real Kuso project. So there was probably honestly a little bit of pressure to approve it, just to show the concept, but also just like I've been saying, the support was so overwhelming that there's no way that they could possibly think that it wouldn't be a good idea. So I really think LEGO has historically been very scared of video game licenses. I think that's what kind of convinced them to give it a try. And obviously after they tried it out, it proved to be very successful, and like I was talking about. But anyway, so Nintendo has been trying to break into the building block market for a long time. I think it was, I want to say the 70s. I'm not honestly entirely sure, but a while ago, Nintendo actually had their own brand of building blocks. Oh, I doubt it. It was probably way earlier than the 70s. But yeah, it was called, I forget what it was called, but yeah, they had their own brand of building blocks. They didn't do any licenses that we would recognize, because I'm pretty sure those licenses didn't exist at the time. So it was definitely sooner than the 70s if that's the case. But so that didn't end up going over too well for them. It wasn't super successful, so they ended up dropping it. They've had licenses with Connects for Mario. Pokemon is currently licensed through Mega Bloks, and even though it's technically a different company, so it doesn't present any licensing issues with the rest of Nintendo, but it does show that Nintendo is interested in some respect. And those Mega Bloks in general has, I guess, Mega Constructs now, they're no longer Mega Bloks, but they've really not been doing well recently. And maybe they're just kind of lying dormant right now. But yeah, everything I've seen says they're not really doing great. A lot of the sets that they've been releasing recently aren't releasing in all the markets because they don't have enough buyers in those markets to release them there. So they end up with a lot of region exclusives simply because there are no buyers in certain regions. But anyway, Mega Bloks has historically had a lot of video game licenses, so it makes sense that they would choose Pokemon. And I still think LEGO's I really think just the recent success of Overwatch is going to be what convinces them that other video game licenses are a good idea. And I don't think they would have been open to it until as soon as they saw that those sets were successful, which is just the past couple months. So I don't think, had Nintendo approached them about Pokemon, or had Game Freak, or the Pokemon company rather, approached them about Pokemon, I don't necessarily know if they would have been on board at the time. I don't know if they were asked, but we do know that at least one Legend of Zelda project has gotten enough support on Kuso to be considered. We don't know how far it went, but we know that at least the idea was there. And yeah, I don't know where I'm going with that. But the idea has been tossed around at LEGO, at least. We know they've talked about it, and I'm 100% sure Nintendo was aware of that as well. So yeah, Nintendo's been trying to break into it for a long time. LEGO is just very, very recently getting comfortable with the idea of video game licenses. And I would not be surprised at all if Nintendo, even if it was just a result of the Kuso project, I would not be at all surprised if Nintendo has been in talks with LEGO before about a potential partnership, given that they've been trying to break into the market for a while and it hasn't really been working. And I think just that fear of video game licenses has been what has held LEGO back from that. Of course, that part is personal theory, but I don't really see... That just makes the most sense to me, honestly, with what I've seen of like LEGO's internal structure, being involved a little bit with some set design there, and just what I've talked with them and everything. There was definitely there was a reservation about doing a video game license at the time when Minecraft became a thing, as I've already said. But I really think, just if you think about it, Nintendo and LEGO are just like the perfect match. It's like a match made in heaven. They just fit each other so well. And I'm sure somebody at both companies at least is aware of that and has, considered it. So to me, it just, given everything I know, and there's not really a lot of evidence I can really support, it's just mostly based on personal experience and what I know about them. I really think that the only reason LEGO hasn't done Nintendo licenses yet is because of their, just reservation about video game licenses. So, anyway, I really think that LEGO Nintendo is inevitable at some point. Especially now that they've seen the success of Overwatch, as I've been talking about. And there are plenty of ideas projects up. I put Samus's gunship on there, so hopefully, fingers crossed for Metroid. But I've seen a lot of people just completely convinced that LEGO Nintendo will never happen and never can happen. And a lot of people, for some reason, this rumor is perpetuated that there's like bad blood between Nintendo and LEGO because of Nintendo's previous attempts at a building block toy. And there was a lawsuit at the time because LEGO obviously wasn't too happy about it, and Nintendo did end up losing. That was part of the reason that they stopped doing it. Well, that was the reason they stopped doing it, but I'm sure they would have eventually stopped either way because they had a lot of different stuff going on before they settled on video games. But anyway, so there's this rumor that just everybody's still holding a grudge about that, but that was a long time ago. Even if I should really look up when that was before I keep saying the 70s, because I'm pretty sure it's not the 70s. Nintendo building block, maybe? NMB blocks. Oh, it was the 70s. They were created in 1968, so basically the 70s. Close enough. Yeah, they stopped production in 72. Maybe, yeah. So, yeah, people think there's bad blood. But that was 50 years ago, almost, at this point. That was actually 50 years ago. Because that would have been, it would have started production 51 years ago. I really don't think, just thinking about it logically, they are not going to still hold bad blood. You know how many people are still left both companies since then. I know Nintendo has, both companies really have a good employee retention. But still, like, no, nobody cares. It was so long ago. And just, that's not how business works. And Lego has been over that with so many other people as well. Like, they don't care. Just trust me. Like, they really don't. So I don't know why that rumor is perpetuating. But honestly, in response to like almost every Ideas project or Kuso project or whatever, there's so much criticism. And it can be really tiring sometimes. Like, it's, for some reason, just people just like to tell everybody that it will never happen. And people did that with Minecraft, and it happened, and people have done that with so many other projects that ended up happening. And, I don't know, certain people on the internet, maybe it's just the cynicism, which is obviously pretty prevalent in a lot of places, but I don't know, maybe it's just that. But personally, I kind of find it a little bit annoying, because there's really no reason for it. Because honestly, like, nobody puts up a Kuso project and is, like, hanging all of their hopes and fears on it. And nobody supports a Kuso, or Ideas project, rather, and hangs all their ideas, or hopes and dreams on it. Like, nobody's going to be that crushed if it is rejected by LEGO. But also, like, there's no point in not trying. Like, you can't live your life not doing things because you don't think they will work. That's not a good way to be. Like, you might as well, I guess we're getting into the, like, ideological everything as well, but as it relates to Ideas projects, you're literally hurting nobody by putting one up and advertising it and supporting it and whatever. Literally hurts nobody. There's no reason not to. Even if it ends up not working out, at least, you tried. No harm, no foul. So I really don't understand why so many people are, like, dead set on tearing down every Ideas project they see. And it happens a lot it happened with Minecraft so much. There was actually, I was pretty young at the time. It was, like, really my first exposure to, I had been around on the internet for a while, despite how young I was. I got a computer at a pretty young age. But it was really my first exposure to the internet, really. So there was actually a point, I have to assume, like, the link was spread on, like, 4chan or something, but there was a huge wave of, like, I don't want to use, like, the words haters and trolls, because those are, like, so overused and meaningless at this point, but basically, hordes of people just coming in and commenting calling me all sorts of names, calling everybody all sorts of names, calling the project all sorts of names. It was not a good time. Definitely thickened my skin in regards to the internet. And lucky, I had a good relation with the people at Kuso at the time, because we had already talked and everything and figured it all out. So I was able to just message them and be like, hey, this is happening. Maybe you guys should probably check that out. Yeah, and they're really cool. They got it all together. They're definitely, at least then, they were a fantastic team, and I have no doubt they're still a fantastic team. So yeah, anyway, there's just a lot of naysayers about a lot of things, and I just don't see the point. This has definitely devolved. I'm way off on a tangent now, but anyway, we're almost finished with the build. Might as well talk about that a little bit. We're actually almost finished now, because I'm pretty sure I didn't do a lot in regards to, like, structural stuff besides the very bottom. And there's room for an interior in there, and I would probably put one in if I ever got the chance. But it is, honestly, at this point, I really wanted to get this build over with, and the interior wasn't essential to what I wanted to end up doing it in my original vision, so I just let it go and didn't worry about it. And it's kind of designed so the very base has the room and everything, and then you can lift the rest of it off pretty easily. It's not connected at all, it's just like in there in a couple grooves. So the top sections are not very structurally supported. That would be something that I will worry about at a later date when I actually build a physical model. Again, mostly, honestly, because I was done with it. Like, I was done. I really didn't want to continue. Especially with structural stuff. And just connecting the floors, like the connections right here that I'm coloring right now. This little part, these landings, I guess they would be called, were so annoying, to be honest. Just because in LDD sometimes you don't have it there, like you can't physically move it around and touch it and everything, so it can be hard to kind of grasp certain aspects of the build. And that makes it a little difficult sometimes with stuff like this to connect everything together. So it's something that would be a lot easier in a physical space. So that's why that was my excuse to save it for later. And don't worry, I will end up only coloring this front side of it. At least, obviously I'll do it all. But as far as recordings go, I only recorded the front because it's just the same exact thing 3 more times. So there's no point in recording it all. But yeah, it's very Art Deco. The colors that I end up going with are a little more vibrant than they are, I think, in Odyssey. But they pretty much match with what it looks like in the Smash Brothers stage. So it's just white, black, and gold with the transparent parts. I was using, I think it's called different programs call it different things, but it's like a very light gray in between white and light gray, or light bluish gray. And it's not a very common piece at all. And I think I usually don't use it just because it's very much not common, and there's no way you'll ever be able to make all of this out of that color. So I do end up changing it to white. I don't know if I do on the recording or not, but anyway. Yeah, so there's the final render. I really like how it turned out. I messed with the lighting a good bit on this one, and I'm really happy with the results. I love the look of the Mecha Wiggler around it, and there's just an overall shot. And we have the shrooms down there, and I just built Mario's cap because I didn't want to make a whole separate piece for that since it's a little bigger. But yeah, I am honestly super happy with how it turned out. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you're looking forward to more Nintendo builds, because they're definitely on the way. So yeah, feel free to like and subscribe, and have an amazing day.